imagine an app where we need to create a kind of virtual pet. So let's define a virtual pet as a set of variables. So let's say that every virtual pet needs to have a name, which is, it needs to be of data type string. Also, a pet can be identified with a level of happiness, which is of data type integer. Higher is the level of happiness, happier is the pet, and another variable that states if our pet is alive or not. Let's say that our pet for the moment is dead. So we need these three variables just to create one pet. But what if we need to create 3 pets? So 3 times 3, this means handling and managing 9 variables. This is probably a headache. So how to solve this? So in SwiftUI, we use a very basic concept, very well known in all the programming languages, which is called the struct. So the idea is simply to group these 3 variables under one unique name that we are going to call naturally virtual pet. So steps, simply create a new file, an empty file. Let's call this file virtual pet. Once the file is created, we can add the struct. The keyword is a struct. The name of that struct is virtual pet. So starting from now, we are creating a new data type called virtual pets. So what is inside the virtual pet? So we are going to use these 3 information that we stated as defining any pet. So every pet has a name, every pet has a level of happiness, and every pet also has a status of life. So simply by doing this, we just created a new data type as a string, as int, as bool. Now in this app, we have a new data type called virtual pet. So if you go back to the content view, now if we need to create one pet, we need simply to declare a variable. Let's give this variable name. I'm going to call it my pet. And now we need simply to create this variable my pet of data type pet. Now, since this is a struct, creating a pet means assigning 3 values for the 3 attributes or 3 variables of the struct. So to this end, we need simply to assign symbol and call the pet, and we will call the initializer. So here the pet is asking for a name, or we can create it directly this way. Sorry, the name is virtual pet. And we are going to call the initializer of the virtual pet. So you can see the 3 information that create any pet, the name, the happiness, and the status of living. So let's call it a cat. The level of happiness, let's start with 0. Our cat is very sad for the moment. And for sure, our pet is alive. So this is how to create only one pet. Now, if we need to create more, or an array of pets, is quite easy. It's very similar to an array of string, for example. So let's try to do something with this information. So let's use a VStack. And inside this VStack, we are going to display the 3 information of the pet. So first one is the name. So to call for the name, we can access the information of the name through the name of the object my pet. So it is my pet, and then we need to call the dot operator. So dot, and then with every dot, you can access the 3 information of a pet. So my pet dot name. The same text for the level of happiness, my pet dot happiness. So the same thing, 1e, the name of the object, my pet dot happiness, and the same for the status of living, So my pet dot is alive. Now let's play a little bit with this tree information. So for example, the name, instead of using a basic text, and since this is a cat, we can replace the word cat with an emoji, for example. So you can access the list of emoji by tapping the function button with the E key. I'm going to choose a cat. So please note that this is considered as a text and not as an image. So this is just a text. Let's make them a little bit better. So it is font.system size, and let's make it, for example, 30. This is for the name. The same for the happiness, or for the happiness, we are going to process it differently. And for the status of living. Now we are going to add a button. This button, let's make it give a treat to our cat. And every time we give a treat to our cat, we are going to increase its level of happiness. So here, we are going to access the object myPet, access the happiness, and add, for example, to this happiness 10 points. So here we are getting error because the happiness is used on the interface. So we need to declare this object as a state. So at state. Now we can play with the size of the happiness. Now the idea is every time we click on the happiness, every time the happiness is increased, we are going to increase the size. So here, instead of using a size as a number, we can simply call myPet.happiness. So myPet.happiness, so happiness is declared as an integer, if you remember, so it is an integer. However, for the system size, it has to be CGFloat, so we have simply to cast it with CGFloat. Now our interface is updated, so let's just create a certain space with inside our struct. So there is no need for the content, just the spacing will be more than enough. Now let's start. Every time I click on greet, so I am increasing the size of my cat. So this is just a simple way on how we can use a struct in Swift. So please review the concept of state and the concept of stack, and also the concept of the emojis. Thank you, and see you soon in another video shortly.